Hey everybody, what's going on? Mike here. Just figured I'd share my thoughts on I got to see the early access screening of Coyote versus Acme, which is actually in a wide release starting August 28th. And well, the first question obviously is, has the movie lived up to the hype? Was this movie worth Ketchup Entertainment rescuing it and giving it, finally, after years of it being in development hell, was it worth Ketchup Entertainment finally getting the rights to it and giving it a wide release? Yes. Yes, it was. Obviously it's a movie that is a mix of cartoon and live action. The cartoon elements are done in like 3D CGI, similar to how you would see on CGI elements done on, say, Family Guy, when they do 3D elements. It's done much like that, but the cartoon characters that you're used to, they do look like the cartoon characters they're supposed to be. Obviously, sorry, I'm just rearranging my camera here. I'm filming on my phone camera. Obviously, like, it's not there's a lot of plot. It's very, very balanced between the plot and the goofy Looney Tunes shtick that you would expect in a movie where Wile E. Coyote is basically the featured performer. I thought this movie was very good. If you go into it expecting nothing but silly slapstick, you're probably going to be a little disappointed. This movie is actually very balanced between the comedic slapstick and the serious story that Will Forte's character is trying to tell, with him and his law firm and the stuff that they're trying to do. I'm going to try to say as much as I can without giving up spoilers. There's going to be a point in this video where I'm going to call for a spoiler tag, and at that point is when you would want to stop watching if you want to go see the movie yourself, which I'm going to tell you right now, I do recommend you go see this movie. It's actually very, very good. I really thought the way they incorporated the Looney Tunes universe and the Acme universe into live action, and the way they've incorporated certain things and certain traits and tropes that you're familiar with. For instance, there's a scene, a little bit of a spoiler here, I guess. There's a scene in which they discover a bucket of Acme paint, and Wiley dips Will Forte's hand into the paint, and Will looks at him very annoyed, and then wipes his hand off on the wall. And then he looks at the wall where he wiped his hand, and he discovers, hey, he can see right through the wall where he wiped his hand. And then Wiley paints the tunnel in full, and you see the tunnel, and it's a train tunnel like you would expect it to be, because it's Wile E. Coyote. But there's a lot of really, really cool, like Acme style elements that are present in this movie, and they've really incorporated it into the live action well. Not only that, but Wile E. Coyote is far from the only Looney Tunes character in this movie. And I will get into that when we get into spoilers. I thought Will Forte had a great performance. I do like Will Forte. I think he's a very talented comedic actor, and I thought he did very well in this. John Cena is very good at playing an asshole. And his portrayal of the opposing lawyer, I forget the character name off the top of my head, but he's very, very good at being a dick. And I thought John Cena played his role magnificently. He's probably the best actor in this, which is crazy to think about because it's John Cena, but he is by far the best actor in this movie. Second only to second after him being Will Forte, of course. Which is, I guess that's what you want. You want your two biggest actors in the movie to be your two best. So that makes sense. But yeah, Cena really chewed the scenery with this one. He did a very good job with this character, and I thought I really liked him in this. So now I think we'll get into spoilers now. So if you well, first let me talk about the previews before we get into spoilers, because there's a couple previews that I thought were interesting. First, there was a preview for Forgotten Island, which is a DreamWorks CGI movie where these two characters end up on a forgotten island. Doesn't look to be my style of movie. I think that's definitely more of a kids movie, which Coyote vs. Acme was rated PG, so there was going to be a lot more kid-friendly features tacked on the beginning of this movie. So I'm not terribly surprised. There was also a preview for Hershey, the story of William Hershey and the making of his chocolate company, and that's supposed to be due out on Thanksgiving. And I'm sure the story of William Hershey is not embellished or expanded upon or fabricated in any way, shape, or form. I'm sure it's a very true to the backstory of Hershey, and in fact the whole town of Hershey, Pennsylvania, as it becomes a factory town. I'm sure it's not like completely fabricated or anything like that. It looked fine. I mean, I'm probably not going to see it. I don't really care too much about Hershey's chocolate or the origins of which. Might be good for a lark. Might be fun for a lark. I don't know. So, it is what it is. I'm not the only one of the Backseat Gamer crew that saw Coyote vs. Acme today. Actually, Ashley went to an early screening about 30 minutes down the road in Muncie. So I got to see it here in Richmond. They had one screening of it today. Yeah, that's the only. What was the other? What was that friggin' one that was from the makers of Coraline? Wildwood. That one's also coming out, I think, on Thanksgiving, and it's in the style of Coraline, which has me intrigued. So that could be fun. That could be a good movie to go see. I would be interested to see if that movie does very well. Hopefully it does. But yeah, there's so many previews. I can't remember them all, possibly. I believe there was a preview for Practical Magic 2, a sequel to the original movie, which starred Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, who return in this one. So that's interesting. I think that's coming out next month, as a matter of fact, in September. So yeah. And that's all the previews that I remember off the top of my head. If I remember any more, I'll interject them at some point, probably. But now we're going to get into spoilers. So if you have not seen Coyote vs. Acme yet, this is where you turn this video off and come back to me later when you watch the video and see if you agree with my analysis. So now we're in spoilers. The plot of the movie is that nobody has ever gone against the Acme Corporation in terms of like a lawsuit. Usually when a cartoon character gets hurt, they go to this company. Avery Jones and what was it? Avery Jones and something. I forget, but clearly a reference. Will Forte's character is named Kevin Avery, and Avery obviously is a reference to Tex Avery, who is the who made a lot of the Looney Tunes back in the day. Jones is obviously a nod to Chuck Jones, who was another Looney Tunes animator mainstay. I forget the third lawyer's name in the title of the lawyer firm, but it's Avery Jones and something or other. Anyway, Maltese, I think. So a nod to Maltese Falcon, or the Maltese. There was a Maltese Falcon inspired Looney Tunes short. I think that's a reference to. But yeah, I caught the Tex Avery reference, and I caught the Chuck Jones reference, and I appreciate both of those. So usually in this universe, the cartoon characters, when a Acme product malfunctions on them, they sue the company, and the company pays them out like a couple $100 sometimes, if they're lucky. So obviously Wile E. Coyote has been using these products for years and years, and there's actually stock footage of older Looney Tunes shorts featuring Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner used in this movie to illustrate the point that Wile E. has been doing this for years and years upon decades and has never caught the Roadrunner because these products keep backfiring on him. And so when he comes to Kevin Avery to file a lawsuit, Avery's like, okay, well, this is routine. We settle, get you a couple $100, and we get you back on the road. No. Wile E. decides to shove every single piece of faulty Acme equipment into an evidence box, and it ends up being a case file about this friggin' wide, and it's framed as the largest lawsuit against Acme Corporation that has ever happened. And it's the opposing, the head of the head like lawyer for Acme, who is played by John Cena. He offers initially $50,000 as a settlement to Wile E. Coyote, which would have been the biggest payout any cartoon's ever had. Coyote rips it up in front of him, sets fire to it, and it explodes, which is because Acme. So they take it all to court and all that, and they're trying to get, and Wile E. wants, well, they're trying to get Roadrunner as a star witness, because obviously Roadrunner's seen Wile E. Coyote use all this defective equipment and has seen all the pain and suffering it has caused. He's been the sole witness to all of Roadrunner's suffering over the last decades of his existence. So Avery's thought is, let's get Roadrunner in. He's going to be the star witness. He knows more about Wile E. Coyote than anybody else. He's seen more damage than anybody else. Wile E. has an ulterior motive, and that's to get Roadrunner on the stand so he can actually finally catch him, cook him, and eat him. He obviously doesn't tell Avery this. He goes along with the court case thing just so he can use it to as a means to his ends. Obviously, there's a big conspiracy that becomes unraveled at some point during the proceedings. Avery and his niece, who are on the case, discover a project within Acme called Project Sisyphus, where they have been testing products on cartoons relentlessly in order to better human products. Now, the original case that they bring forth in, by the way, Albuquerque, New Mexico, another reference to the Looney Tunes cartoons, because Bugs Bunny's always making a wrong turn at Albuquerque, which gets referenced during this movie, which I love. And not only that, but we're in spoilers now. I can tell you, Bugs Bunny does make a cameo in this movie. I believe voiced by Eric Bauza, because obviously Mel Blanc is no longer alive to provide the voice of Bugs Bunny. But Eric Bauza does a very, very good Bugs Bunny. And he is so exceedingly good at it. Like, you could not even tell it wasn't Mel Blanc. Eric Bauza is that friggin' good at being Bugs Bunny. And Bugs is far from the only Looney Tunes character in this. Wile E., obviously, Roadrunner. Tweety Bird is one of the main antagonists of the film for a long time. Foghorn Leghorn is the head of Acme and is the main antagonist. Granny, the owner of Tweety, shows up at one point. And when you discover she is married, actually, to a uh, what's a scientist from Acme whose name happens to be, it's it's Peter Lorre. It's Dr. Peter Lorre. It's a caricature of Peter Lorre. It's the exaggerated Peter Lorre character that you've seen. Oh, I'm Peter Lorre. It's very exaggerated Peter Lorre, but it is revealed that he is actually married to Granny, and Tweety is working for Acme under duress because Dr. Lorre went missing. He was swept under the rug by Acme early on in the film. And we get to the point where we get the city of Albuquerque dismisses the case, but Avery's like, I'm still going to fight. And then they discover, oh, Congress in D.C. has agreed to hear the case. So they're going to go to D.C. and fight the case. He and Wiley have a falling out. Kevin Avery and Wiley have a falling out because Avery gets mad at him for trying to focus on his ulterior motive, which Kevin found out while they were still working on the case in Albuquerque, and basically tells Wiley Coyote he will never catch Roadrunner and to stop trying. And at that point, Wiley gets incredibly upset and leaves. Kevin tries to track him down and all that. They get to the case in Congress. Kevin states in his opening statement how he admires Wiley Coyote for having the intestinal fortitude to continue to get up, try again, keep trying, keep going, no matter how many times he fails. And that he himself, Kevin, was afraid of failure at some point, but not anymore. And if only everybody could be inspired by how hard Wiley Coyote works at what he does, even if he fails 9 times out of 10. And Wiley happens to be in the courtroom. He walked into the courtroom as the speech was going on, so he heard all this. And so they get to the trial. They get to testify. Kevin asks Foghorn Leghorn a bunch of questions about his Acme equipment. It's all looking pretty down. Then the Roadrunner shows up as the star witness, actually confirms, and Wiley gets ready to try to capture him, to try to eat him, and of course, as it was his ulterior motive. But when Roadrunner reveals that he actually feels sorry for Wiley for him putting himself through all that pain and suffering, it makes Coyote tear up. And honestly, that's kind of... And they ask Roadrunner for his final statement, and he beeps it out in Morse code, to which the translator says, he asks, "Are you coming back?" Roadrunner legitimately misses Wiley Coyote when he's not in the desert. I mean, and that's fair because, I mean, it's been said in the past, you can't have a Wiley Coyote without a Roadrunner. The two can't exist separately. They have to be together. Like, there is no one without the other. And that's a very, very... For a movie about a cartoon Roadrunner and a cartoon Coyote constantly bickering with each other, and the cartoon Coyote constantly destroying himself, trying to get at him, it's a hell of a message. It's a very serious tone. To know that, like, you know, Roadrunner legitimately misses Wiley while he's not in the desert, and just wants to know when he's coming back. So they're kind of like friends after all, to be honest. Even though one's trying to kill the other constantly. My apologies, everybody, for that cut. My phone overheated, so I had to stop for a second and let it cool off. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I was talking about the very heartfelt tone of a Roadrunner missing Wiley Coyote because he's not in the desert. He's so busy in the city trying to, and in Washington, D.C., trying to, you know, get all this done and trying to hold Acme accountable. and he misses him. And it's, what a shot to the friggin' heart that is, to be like, oh man. So at the end of the day, I mean, there's still lack of evidence, so they dismiss the case anyway. And then Wiley just decides to say, screw Roadrunner, I'm going to go after Foghorn. And he literally traps, using this big old contraption that he's been making the whole movie in secret, he traps Foghorn in a cage with John Cena's character. And they walk away thinking they failed, and they get back to the law firm, and dozens of Looney Tunes characters are outside waiting because they trust Kevin that they will be heard. And they all have decided to sue Acme. And because of all of this, and because of you know, Kevin's work on the case, the federal government looked into Acme and did a raid on their headquarters and arrested the lawyer and then arrested Foghorn. And so it ended up being a happy ending after all. This movie is great. And I'm so glad, so glad that Ketchup Entertainment saved this movie, because Warner Brothers sat on it for so long and had no intentions of ever releasing it. And I'm very happy they did, because this is a good movie. And I think anybody, even like young or old Looney Tunes fans, are going to enjoy this. Like, don't go into it expecting like slapstick nonstop. There's definitely some. There is some focus on slapstick, and there's some really funny moments in this movie that I don't want to spoil for you, even in spoiler section. But I really do think you need to see this, and I really hope when this movie comes out in wide release on the 28th, I really do hope that it takes in a whole lot of net income, because we've been, like I said, Warner Brothers sat on this movie for a long time, and people demanded they release it, demanded they put it out, and finally Ketchup Entertainment steps up and does the right thing, buys the rights, puts it in theaters, and I'll be damned if it wasn't a fine example of a movie. I love this, and I really think you should see it, and I hope you all do when it comes out on August 28th. It is great. It's funny. It's a funny movie. Will Forte's great in it. John Cena is amazing in it. It's probably one of John Cena's best roles. How sad would it have been for one of John Cena's best performances to actually have been never released? That would have been a travesty. But I'm glad we got to see this. And I'm finally glad it got put out. And all it took was Ketchup Entertainment buying the rights, and then the day the Earth blew up being a success, which it was. That would have been the recent animated film featuring Daffy Duck. So, and that one was a success, which led them to want to put this one out. And I'm so glad they did. Definitely worth it. So yeah, go see it when you get a chance. Thanks for listening to me ramble about it for 20 minutes. And have a great rest of your day.